One of the most complicated parts of human behavior is their social behavior, which is based on their ability to properly communicate with each other. This ability is mediated by part of the brain called the social brain, which consists of different areas including the amygdala, anterior cingulate cortex, medial prefrontal cortex, inferior frontal gyrus, and the superior temporal sulcus. You are all probably familiar with autism, which is characterized by social avoidance and lack of interest in social interactions. But it is interesting to know that on the exact opposite end of the spectrum stands a syndrome which leads to uninhibited social interactions and over-friendliness. People with this syndrome are frequently termed as having a cocktail party personality. This syndrome is called Williams syndrome, named after the cardiologist Dr. John Williams, who provided the first description of the syndrome in 1961. He was actually studying patients with a rare condition called supravalvular aortic stenosis, in which patients have narrowing of their aorta just above the aortic valve. He noticed some facial resemblance among these patients, leading him to diagnose some patients with supravalvular aortic stenosis just based on facial features. In the original article from 1961, he writes, "The presence of supravalvular aortic stenosis in patients with some unusual facial features may constitute a syndrome that has not previously been described." And he was right. The syndrome was later identified and named after him as Williams syndrome. We now know that this syndrome is caused by a deletion on the long arm of chromosome 7. This results in a cascade of physical, cognitive, behavioral, affective, and neurobiological aberrations. All children with Williams syndrome have characteristic distinctive faces with elfin-like features, such as broad foreheads, well-apart eyes, heavy and dependent cheeks, and wide mouths. Perhaps the most interesting feature of patients with Williams syndrome is their personality and social behavior. In one of the earliest descriptions of the syndrome, they were described as individuals who love everyone, are loved by everyone, and are very charming. Such patients are also known to have strength in verbal and language skills, increased musical interest and emotional reactivity to music, but weakness in visual spatial skills. It seems patients with Williams syndrome have increased focus on human faces and eyes while processing other individuals. Remember that this syndrome was caused by a deletion of the long arm of chromosome 7. It is interesting to know that duplication of the long arm of chromosome 7 results in autistic features and hyposocial behavior. Maybe someday this chromosome 7 can be targeted to alter some people's social behaviors or even treat autism.